Yo, what is up YouTube, Gray here, and today we are back for week number 1 of the PCL against Noah, aka No Pun Intended, and the Philadelphia Aegislash. If you didn't see the team builder, it went up a few days ago because this one's a little bit late. I'm a little bit behind my videos, some real life shit happened and I'm not going to go into that. So, anyway, the battle. We have a terrible matchup, as I said before. And I'm not expecting particularly great battle. Decidueye is literally there because I couldn't bring like 4 of my mons, and the other 2 were kind of just average against his team. So yeah, we've got a mixed bulk clef, we have got a Spadef, nasty plot, bat and pass, Decidueye, scarfed, 4 attacks, Naganadal, a more specially bulky Mega Sizzle, but kind of mixed bulk anyway. Oh, excuse me. A physically bulky Staraptor and Life Orb Analytic Starmie. That's a quick recap in case you don't want to go back and watch Team Builder. It's probably shit anyway, so who gives a shit? Well, I said shit twice and I now said it 3 times. Wow, PG channel. Anyway, he's bringing Naganadal, Infernape, Aegislash, Seismitoad, Mega Medi, and Lando T. So, first things first, he didn't bring Greninja, so really Naganadal should outspeed everything. That depends obviously on his Naganadal, not his Naganadal, his Nihilego and Infernape sets, and whether they've decided to go max speed or something. I don't think they will, but it's happened to me in the past and I got very salty. So really I should learn my lesson and go for outspeeding max speed, but yeah. Anyway, I'm talking shit. So we'll go through the team. Nihilego I'm expecting to either be Scarfed or potentially like an AV set to deal with my Naganadal. You got potentially Scarfed, potentially Life Orb, potential lead, Focus/lead, Infernape. Aegislash is anything. Like, I have no idea what this Aegislash set is going to be. We'll have to scout that one out as the battle goes on. Same with the Seismitoad. I'm expecting maybe bulky with rocks, because unless his Infernape is lead or his Landorus is some weird lead set, then I don't see anything else having rocks. Mega Medicham is going to be Mega Medicham. It's going to do a shit ton of damage and it's going to break me. And then Lando T is again an unknown. It just really kind of needs Earthquake and Fly, because it's a Z user. You can use Flying Z, so it could potentially be Double Dads, which is terrifying should he get that in on the right Pokemon, which I think is going to be Clef. I've got to watch out for that. Other than that, this battle's probably going to go terribly, but we shall get straight into it. Here I'm expecting him to potentially lead with his Infernape, expecting that to be kind of a lead potentially. The Lando T could be his lead. So I'm going to go with Clef. I don't really know my reasoning. I think the timer got a bit low and I panicked a little bit. And instead of going for Infernape or Lando T, again both of those could quite easily destroy me with the right set, he goes out into Nihilego, and this couldn't be a worse lead for me. It really couldn't. Nihilego is a massive threat to my team that I kind of overlooked a little bit because he has 2 fighting types that literally destroy my entire team. And I go out into my Shimada, my Decidueye, and this is because it's my Spadefmon. It's also like the most expendable thing on my team, so you're kind of going to see me use this quite carelessly because I really don't care too much if it survives or not. I know that sounds harsh, but I really don't. And as you can see, he goes for the Thunderbolt, which is absolutely ideal for me, except for the fact that I got fucking paralysed first turn. Is this NSTL all over again? We will see. But if those who aren't aware, NSTL, I had terrible luck. I missed moves where I needed to hit. I missed 4 Toxics in 2 games, 3 of them being in 1. But enough of my past hardships. That's I go for a sub, and I didn't expect the Infernape to come in. I don't know why I didn't expect the Infernape to come in. I kind of expected him to stay in, and I wasn't sure at the time whether a Sludge Wave would be able to break my sub or not. But certainly a Fire Punch from Infernape is going to. However, we don't see a Life Orb, we don't see a Flare Blitz as well, which is great. I'm just going to throw off a Shadow Ball for some damage. I'm expecting this to do about half because I'm thinking it's going to be offensive. However, that does, if we can get the HP bar back up, it does about a third, a little bit under I think, it's like between a quarter and a third. So this thing is bulky and it is probably there to check my Mega Sizzle. And to be fair, that's a very good bring on his behalf. Like, it's the only thing really on his team that completely shuts it down, unless I run Aerial Ace. And let's be honest, I'm not running Aerial Ace against his team, because other than the 2 fighting types, it doesn't do a whole lot to him. So I'm going to run like a regular Mega Sizzle, and it's going to be completely checked by this Infernape. However, I do have a Staraptor that at this point looks like it potentially checks the Infernape, and here I'm expecting rocks. So I'm thinking, okay, well, unless he's got a Stone Edge or Thunder Punch, I really have nothing to worry about coming in with Staraptor. And even then, I think a Stone Edge from a bulky Infernape will probably only do about, I don't know, 40%, I think it calced at. So I wasn't too worried, I can just roost that off. And if he goes for Stealth Rocks here, then I can get a free defog, because he's not going to want to stay in, because he doesn't take a Brave Bird even at full HP. So how this is going to go is that really he can't get rocks up until my Staraptor is dead. And I'm hoping to keep Staraptor alive for as long as I can to stop that from happening, and hopefully get my own rocks up. So yeah, I forgot that team preview. He only has Landorus that could potentially defog away my hazards, and I don't expect it to run defog, so I potentially have rocks up all game if I can get Clef in at the right time. Here I am not going to stay in, because Aegislash is literally just going to eat my hits all day, every day. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he's not going to go for a ghost move, because it's just not going to be worth it if I do stay in and like Heat Wave or something, if I'm a really weird set like that. So I'm not expecting him to use the ghost move, I'm kind of expecting an Iron Head here. So I'm just going to go out into what is effectively my death fodder at this point in Decidueye. And turns out he actually goes for the Secret Sword. Is it Secret or Sacred for Aegislash? Holding my breath. Okay, it's Sacred Sword. So he goes for the Sacred Sword, and of course that's not going to affect me. I don't know why I held that for so long, because regardless it's not going to affect me. And here I just go for a sub, because I don't expect him to stay in. Potentially if he has a ghost move, but at the same time I'm just kind of sacking this anyway. And getting a sub off would be really nice, and in comes a Nihilego. So I'm here like, okay, well, I know it's probably going to break my sub if he goes for a Sludge Wave, but I can quite comfortably just set up a nasty plot on my sub being broken, and then I can bat and pass that out into Naganadel, and I don't think anything on his team would then be in a position to really like take me down. At +2, he would have to be lucky with rolls and stuff. Obviously I'd have to be quite lucky myself, but unfortunately I get paralyzed on what would be the nasty plot turn, and I'm just going to go for a bat and pass, because he's going to Sludge Wave me. I can bat and pass out into whatever I feel like, which is probably going to be the Mega Sizzle, because it can, or a max attack Mega Sizzle can Oko Nihilego. So I got into my Mega Sizzle. However, I don't really want to stick around. I don't expect him to stay in unless he has Hidden Power Fire, so I am scouting for that a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I'm expecting the Infernape to come in, because it is his kind of ideal switch, and I'm just going for a knockoff, because knockoff is a completely no risk move. It knocks off pretty much anything, and if he brings in his Medi, that's not going to appreciate it. If he brings in his Lando, then I can see if he's Z or not. So we knock off the Rocky Helmet, which is a really nice bring for him actually. I'm fairly sure this set was used by, like, I want to say Envy maybe in GBA. Somebody used it in GBA, I'm fairly sure. It's like a defensive set, so I'm expecting a slack off, and I can always bring in my Staraptor, and indeed he does bring this. He does go for the slack off. So my Staraptor is kind of a free switch into this thing. So we've seen 3 of its moves, and I don't expect it to be packing like a Thunder Punch or a Stone Edge at this point. I'm expecting that to maybe be U-turn, because utility, and having that kind of ability to switch out whenever. And here I make this seems like a bad play. However, this was a how can I put this? I intended to make the bad play. So what looks like I'm just kind of bringing in my Clef on, well, probably a sack off to Aegislash. I'm actually running a Berry, so I don't really care about the first hit that Iron Head's going to do on me. For Berry, I should be able to take 2 potentially. It is a roll, but yeah, I'm not too worried about taking the first hit, and I do expect his Aegislash to be speed creeping my Clef, because it's nice to get that first hit. However, in hindsight, maybe not, because he wants to stay in shield form as long as possible. However, my full process was, if I can get a Fire Blast on the blade form, then I am going to do a ridiculous amount of damage, potentially OHKO it, and that would be very nice. That would be very, very nice indeed, because Aegislash is a problem, and so that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for the Fire Blast, expecting him to outspeed. However, of course, I do not. Turns out he was running like a Brave Nature or something, and we get the burn, and this is huge because it basically means that I can just sit in with my Clef all day if I want to. I can switch out into something else and not really care. At this point, his Aegislash is doing no damage. Look how much that did. That did like pretty much nothing. That is breakfast to Clef. So at this point, I don't want to stay in and take a second Iron Head. I do want to keep my Clef as healthy as possible. And I am just going to go out into something I don't remember, because this battle was quite a while ago. He goes out into a Seismitoad, I think. Okay, no, I go for the Stealth Rock here, and then I'm going to go out into my Decidueye on the next turn. So rocks are up and should be up to stay, which is absolutely amazing, because that's going to be good chip damage on everything that comes in. Nihilego can only kind of switch in twice, I think it is, before it kind of drops into range of Dragon Pulse, and that would be ideal. So he goes for a Sludge Wave on the switch. I mean, that's kind of a good play on his behalf. I was expecting the Sludge Wave because it's the only thing that could really threaten my Clef. And here I didn't expect a knockoff. And it takes out my Decidueye. It's not the end of the world. I really didn't need to keep this thing around at all. Now it's paralyzed. It was low. I had no reason to keep it in. However, I should have written down that it had knockoff, because I bring in my Starmie. But this turn he doesn't stay in. Instead, I go for the Grass Knot because I didn't want to risk anything, and I thought at that point I didn't know if he was AV or if he was going to be like Rindo Berry. But Grass Knot was always my play, and I get a crit. Doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of the battle. And here the burn matters, because I don't know if I would stay in or not. What I've seen so far is 2 resisted moves, and then his last move is probably going to be Ghost. Sorry, he's going to have King Shield, because that's kind of a given. And his last move is either going to be like Pursuit, Shadow Claw, or Shadow Sneak. And potentially, had he not been burnt, I wouldn't have stayed in here. But I did stay in because he was burnt, and he shows that he actually has the Pursuit. And this kind of lets me have 3 Scalds. I know he's not going to do much damage to me, so I'm just going to fire off Scalds. I think if I hadn't got the burn with the Fire Blast, I may have got a burn with his Scald anyway. So, you don't know, like, Scald is 30% chance to do actually in a battle, and then it turns out it's like 50s to 60% because it always seems to burn. But he goes for a Pursuit, and that does negligible damage. Like, literally does nothing to me. And I'm just going to take down this Aegislash, I believe, with another Scald. He has no reason to keep this Aegislash around anymore. It's kind of like dead weight on his team. He may have kept it for fodder, but at the same time, he then needs to switch something into Starmie, Analytic Starmie. I could have gone for an Ice Beam there and done a load of damage to Seismitoad, so it really wasn't worth it for him. And now he brings in his Nihilego, and this kind of screams Scarf to me. Like, I kind of predicted it prior to this because he hadn't switched up his moves, but certainly bringing in a Nihilego on a Starmie is either A, scarfed, or B, a fantastic bluff that really was like next level plays. Either way, I don't want to take a Thunderbolt, so I'm actually going to go out into my Naganadal because the Thunderbolt seems very obvious, and Naganadal will be able to eat that fairly easily. So yeah, I go out into my Naganadal as he actually goes out into his Seismitoad, so a good play on his behalf because I really don't want to take a hit here. And so I'm just going to U-turn out. At this point, I'm kind of giving away that I'm scarfed a little bit, but at the same time, I'm so quick that you might just think, hey, he's running U-turn because it's one of the quickest mons in the game, or in this game in particular. So he doesn't really know my set, and of course, I forget a knockoff, and here I just die. I misplay really badly. And that is misplay 1 of 2 in this game. So, yeah, spoilers, I misplay again. And that was really unnecessary because certainly my Starmie could have been doing a lot more in this game. It did outspeed most of his team, barring that Scarf Nihilego. So it's a shame that it's gone down. It could have been nice for the late game. and he goes into his Nihilego on my clef, which is a fine play because what am I going to do? Maybe I have Psyshock, or Psychic. I don't know. Like, I think at this point he's very aware that I don't have that extra coverage move. He hasn't seen Moonblast, but it's almost a certainty I'll have it. So going into Nihilego is a fine play for him, and I go into Naganadal here, and the Sludge Wave I didn't think would do that much damage. It actually turns out it does quite a bit of damage. Does far more than I would liked it to have done, and that puts me in range of 2 fake outs, which actually kind of is a huge thing in the grand scheme of this game. And he switches out his Nihilego. He doesn't know I'm Scarfed at this point, and he just switches straight out into his Seismitoad, and that does a decent amount of damage, but it's not going to be a 2-hit KO, so I'm not going to stay in. I'm going to switch into my Sizzle. I'm going to risk a Scald, but I don't think he's going to go for that. I think he's going to go for either an Ice Punch or a Knockoff, and he indeed does go for the Knockoff, and that does quite literally nothing, and he's not going to want to stay in, I don't think, here. He may want to stay in the Scald, which would be fine, but to be fair, my Mega Sizzle isn't really here to be offensive, and I'm just going to U-turn out, expecting him to either go into his Infinite or want to stay in, and the damage from killing off the Seismitoad, or from U-turning the Seismitoad, would put it in range of Dragon Pulse from Naganadal. So he goes into his Infinite, I get that free switch into my Staraptor. Again, he's not going to want to stay in at all, so at this point he's kind of got to stack something off to his... he's got to stack something off to the Staraptor. And I think he thought that I was going to outspeed, because he hadn't really seen my set at all at this point. He knew I was Intimidate, but he hadn't seen me take any damage. And because I'm fully physically defensive, I'm not running any speed at all. His fully physically defensive or very defensive Infinite is going to outspeed, and he's going to then have to sack something else off. I don't know, but I think he was planning to sack off his Infinite there. But instead he's going to have to sack off his Toad. I do get a crit on this move, but I don't think it mattered at all, because I would have 2-hit KO'd regardless if it didn't actually OHKO on his first turn. So yeah, I had a bit of luck, but I don't think the luck really changed the game at all, other than that burn. But at the same time, he got a 10% Thunderbolt paralysis. I think it's a 20% burn. I don't know. I'm not going to go into the inner workings of Pokemon. I'm just going to say that it was good luck. And in comes the Nihilego. At this point, I'm like, okay, well, I don't think he's got Hidden Power Fire, so I'm fairly sure that my Sizzle is as safe as any switch into it. As he actually does kind of reveal that he doesn't have anything particularly, he goes for the Thunderbolt. That does quite a bit of damage. That was a scary amount of damage that did. And he's going to swap out. He obviously doesn't want to take the hit, and he's expecting a Roost, which is absolutely fine. Goes out into the one thing that completely tears apart every part of my team. This is what I was dreading all battle, was seeing this Mega Medi coming out. I was hoping at this point that maybe I'd just have like one Pokemon left to kill and I could just like whittle this thing down. But I've got to make a play here. I've got to make a decision. Either I switched out my Mega Sizzle and lost my Staraptor, or I stayed in with Mega Sizzle and lost my Mega Sizzle. It was as simple as that, really. And at this point of the game, I don't see any reason to keep my Staraptor around, because okay, he's still got his 2 fighting types about, but it doesn't outspeed either of them, and it's going to get killed by one of them. And to be fair, I'm not really worried about the Infinite. At this point, it's kind of in range of the Naganadal's Dragon Pulse anyway when it switches into rocks. So I felt like Staraptor was a less valuable member of my team, and at least the Intimidate means that next turn I can hopefully live a high jump kick from on my Mega Sizzle instead of just getting completely blown back. But as you can see, this is an adamant high jump kick, and it just it's painful. It does so much damage to that Staraptor. That's a -1. Granted, Staraptor is not a good physical check by any means, but it was my kind of physical check for this game, and it just got completely blown back by Mega Medi. Still incapable of saying that name, but at this point I got no reason not to protect. If he decides to go for high jump kick again for some reason, then it's going to do a lot of damage. to him and put him in range of Dragon Pulse. If he goes for something else, then good play on his behalf, but I really can't do anything else. I have no good switches. I can't switch Mega Scissor into this because it's just going to die to like a Psycho Cut plus high jump kick. And yeah, I'm fairly sure at this point I'm like, yeah, I kind of just lose to this. I just do have my Scarf Naganadol at least. As my Staraptor is going to go down, like death fodder at this point. And again, I got the decision to make, and I go in a big circle basically, and in comes Mega Scissor. At least at this point it will be able to tank a high jump kick relatively well. It's still not going to be great, but it does take a hit and I can just U-turn. So at this point I did have a decision to make. So I could stay in and keep roosting and hope he misses the high jump kick, but at any point his Infinite could come in and just tank the hit basically. And he'd already switched in his Infinite numerous times on my Mega Scissor, so I kind of expected him to attack at some point with what he has in, but at the same time he gets a free switch every time to Infinite. However, it is getting worn down, so I think a U-turn into rocks puts him in range of Naganadal. So he makes a play and stays in, and my U-turn does a shit ton of damage to this, which of course is very nice. It does now put it in range of Naganadal, so I go out into my Scarfed B, and I don't expect him to stay in, and he does have a choice to make here where it's like, okay, pretty much anything's going to be sacked, and I don't think that he thought I was going to be Scarfed, so he went out into his Nihilego and is going to just click Psyshock probably. I didn't even know this thing got Psyshock until after the battle, and he's like, oh yeah, I had Psyshock on it. It's like, oh shit, well, me switching my Naganadal into it was a big mistake. I could have lost that super early on, but fortunately I didn't. And this Dragon Pulse on the switch is going to put him at a very unfortunately low amount of health, and if had this killed, he wouldn't have known I was Scarfed and potentially would have played differently. But this reveals I'm Scarfed, and he knows that really his only way to take this thing out is to set up with Landorus or to fake out me twice, and the two fake outs is probably a safer play. We get the Beast Boost, which of course is special attack because I am Scarfed and Modest, so my speed stat is lower, and he does indeed go out into his Mega Medi, which is getting quite low now. It's quite nice, and I'm not willing to take a fake out at this point, so I just switch out into my Mega Sizzle. Maybe should have switched out into Clef at that point, but I really felt like Clef was going to be good for the late game. Turns out I don't think it was very good for the late game, but it is what it is, and you could say I misplayed, so I had a 50-50 basically. It was either I U-turn and potentially went down to any move by Mega Medi, or I bullet punched and had a roll to take it down. And I decided the roll was worth the risk, and if I had to sack off my Mega Sizzle next turn, so be it. However, he does bring in his Infinite, and at this point I'm just happy to die basically, and I'm going to just bullet punch. I could bullet punch again, but I really saw no reason to. I thought maybe he wants to get up his rocks or something at this point. I don't know, but he's just going to take down my Sizzle, and that was kind of my best check, a defensive check to what he had left. But at this point I don't think I need a defensive check. I just need Naganadal, and I need it to just start killing things. And he does go, leaving his Infinite I take down with a Dragon Pulse, and at this point things are not looking too great for him. He does still have to kill my Naganadal with Fake Out because he has nothing to outspeed it. However, he could have gone into his Landorus here, who I think it was a roll, but I don't know his HP stat or his bulk. It would have been a roll if Dragon Pulse would kill after rocks or not. Had he gone into Landorus here and set up a Rock Polish, he would have just won. Pretty much as simple as that, he would have just won. Because I don't think my Clef would have been able... Well, my Clef couldn't take on both Landorus and Mega Medi, and my Naganadal wouldn't have outsped and would have just died. So certainly going to Landorus here was his play, But instead he goes out into Mega Medi, and this opens the door for me to win, because he has to fake out. He has to, well, he's going for the fake out strategy basically to take out my Naganadal, and it is a 2-hit KO, but at the same time I stayed in, and I'm still at +1, and the +1 Dragon Pulse, he either has to sack off his Medi, or he has to sack off his Landorus, and he decides to sack off his Landorus, and this pretty much gives me the game. So, well, it should give me the game, I'll put it that way. And as you can see, this Dragon Pulse on the Switch does a metric fuck ton of damage, like ludicrous amount of damage. It leaves him on like 10 health, and another Dragon Pulse is going to kill. He can't switch in his Medi because it just dies. He now needs to fake out my Naganadal and hope that I misplay basically. And in my head, so I'm going to pause here. In my head, I had completely forgotten that Medi gets access to Poison Jab. I was aware of Bullet Punch, I calced Bullet Punch, it didn't kill. Of course at this point he would have used Bullet Punch on my Naganadal had he had it, and so why I didn't think he didn't, I don't know. But the other option was that I thought maybe he has Thunder Punch for my Starmie, because Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut would have done like over half to Clef, and he really didn't have much to touch Starmie outside of Fake Out. Like, he had pretty much nothing that could just OHKO a defensive Starmie. Granted, it's not the bulkiest mon in the world, but I thought maybe you just run Thunder Punch so he has the coverage for it. Turns out he was actually running Poison Jab, and instead of making the correct play of switching out my Naganadal on the Fake Out, killing him off my Clef to whatever he wanted to use, and then bringing in Naganadal and just winning, instead I decided to sack off my Naganadal and lose. Pretty much, like, that is how the game went. So I completely misplayed massively at the end here. Pretty much just threw the game at the end. Like, I saw this Poison Jab and I was like, ah, fuck, I've just lost. And yeah, it takes me out. We lose 1-0. I'm mad that I lost in the way that I lost, but there was also opportunities in which Noah could quite easily have won, and probably should have won. I'm happy that it was a 1-0. Going into the game, I would have taken a 1-0 because my team sucked against his team. Fairly simply, I felt like I had a terrible matchup, but you know, it is what it is. It's Mons, and I'm extremely dumb, it seems, when it comes to playing the end game. And yeah, we lose 1-0, but there's 10 more games. We can go 10-1. We will go 10-1. We may not go 10-1, not gonna lie. That's a bit optimistic, but if we can go positive, then I've had a good season, in my opinion. If we can make playoffs, even better. But there is going to be some trades from week 3. I think I mentioned that in a team builder. So at the end of next week's video, I will go over those, so we know what we're doing going into week 3. We know what we've got. And yeah, good game to Noah. Played very well, of course. Like, I think he misplayed as much as I misplayed, so to speak, because he definitely had his chances to win. But he played absolutely fine. There was, like, he had to play it safe to win. I had to play really aggressive. I had to basically try and outplay him all the time, or at least that's how I felt. And of course, I did up until the last turn. But you know, it's Mons. We'll come back. We'll come back stronger. And our next game is going to be against Austin, the commissioner of the league, aka Garchomp the God. I should probably mention that as his YouTube name. And yeah, we have a slightly better matchup, but his team is really fucking scary. Like, good lord, this man has threats. But we'll see how we do. So yeah, I will see you guys in the team builder video. Hopefully next week's videos will go up on time. I have promised Austin that they will, so god damn it, they will. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Peace.